Welcome back to The Political Correction. Now, research carried out for the Dogs Trust has shown that more than a third of dog owners in the UK think the cost of living crisis is making it more difficult to give their dogs all they need. The findings are reminiscent of the year after the 2008 recession, when the increase in the number of stray and abandoned dogs reached over 25% in the UK. CEO of the Dogs Trust, Owen Sharp, said that an economic crisis can and will lead to people needing to give up their beloved dogs. Well, Owen joins us now. Owen, tell us a little bit more about your findings.
Yeah, good morning. It's as you said, we've heard from around a third of dog owners who are saying that they are concerned that the cost pressures they're facing are likely to mean that there is a possibility they're going to struggle to keep their dog. And probably more worryingly at the moment is that we are already starting to see increasing number of calls and increasing requests for us to take dogs in. And those numbers are up quite significantly. For example, in the last week, we took over 700 calls from people who are struggling to look after their dogs because of issues related to cost of living. So it's a real worry.
And Owen, are you also getting people who have kind of adopted from you calling up to potentially return dogs as well?
Yes, it's people across the board. It's people who got dogs from us. I mean, the reality is that we know the dog population went up quite a lot in the last 2 years through the pandemic, and the source of many of those dogs was not from rescue organisations. It was people buying from private buyers, and we talked at the time about how we were concerned about the number of dogs that might be being imported or coming out of poor breeding, puppy farms and the likes around that. So the number of dogs that are actually coming back to us from those that were originally adopted from us is not that much higher. It's the wider dog population. And when we talk about seeing 25% of dogs possibly becoming stray or abandoned, and the last time we saw that was in 2008. We know that the dog population in the UK is probably well over 2, maybe even 3 million larger than it was in then. So that's a real issue that is a concern for all of us in animal welfare at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So, Owen, for those dog owners who are currently struggling and kind of worried about cost, what advice would you give to them?
So I think the first thing to do is I would encourage people to contact either Dogs Trust or other animal welfare organisations early. Don't let it get to a crisis. And there are different sort of levels of cost that people are struggling with. So, for example, it may be vet costs that people are fearful are getting higher and higher, and access to vets is difficult because the vet industry is struggling at the moment. It may be access to food. Talk to us early on. We will see what we can do to help. We have partnerships with food banks. We may be able to help access some lower cost vet care for you. So there's lots of things that we might be able to do to help. Our job is to rehome dogs, but our first instinct is always to try and keep a dog in a home with somebody. So if there's anything that we can do to help, please do get in touch with ourselves or other animal welfare organisations, and we will do all we can to help.
Mm-hmm. Now, Owen, I'm a huge fan of the Dogs Trust. I actually rescued my puppy from you guys, and he is really the love of my life. And I know that one of your kind of key slogans that always stuck with me from being a kid is a dog is for life, not just for Christmas. During the pandemic, it did seem like an awful lot of people were getting dogs or other pets kind of for company, for recreation. Is this something that you kind of foresaw then?
Well, we were concerned about the number of people that got dogs during the pandemic and the background that those dogs were coming from, because we did see the market explode, and we knew by definition that must mean that there was a lot of poor practice going on out there. So that was always a worry. I mean, the cost of living pressures that we've seen are an additional factor on top of all of it. The other thing at Dogs Trust that we're helping to try and do at the moment is we're supporting families coming into the UK from the Ukraine. So we're taking some dogs on in combination and partnership with government around that. So that's an added dimension. So there's a little bit of a kind of perfect storm element going on here. But yes, we were always concerned that we could be heading to a place. And as I said earlier, if you start to see rates of abandonment, rates of stray dogs going up, from a much bigger dog population, you really are going to see a lot of pressure and a lot of concern. And that's why the support that we get from people like yourselves is so important, and that whether that's people who support us in principle, particularly those that take on foster dogs, those that come and volunteer in our centres, and our adopters, we need you more than ever. And so, the contribution that people can make by helping us do what we do to get dogs into the right place is just never going to be more important than it is at the moment.
Well, thanks, Owen. And to any viewers there interested, Dogs Trust always looking for willing volunteers there. So do reach out if that's something you feel that you can help with. Owen Sharp there, CEO of the Dogs Trust, joining.